Let's get a little more analysis on this. Ammar Kahf is the Executive Director of the Omran Centre for Strategic Studies, a think tank that focuses on Syria as well as the regional politics of the region. Joining us live from Istanbul. Many thanks for joining us, Ammar. Why is it, do you think, that Turkish troops have not entered Idlib yet? Wasn't that the idea?
Well, the idea is to save lives, and the idea is to go in and de-escalate, deconflict this zone, and especially with the presence of Al-Qaeda-affiliated groups like HTS, they pose a serious threat to stability, and no one wants to pick a fight with them at this point. There is an intention, a global and a Syrian intention, to de-escalate, to fragment them, to infiltrate them, to contain them, to postpone the fight with them, at least for the time being, in order to save the many lives that are living now in the province of Idlib. So the regional powers and the balance on the ground is very sensitive and on a thin line.
So will the Turkish army at some point enter Idlib?
I think at some point they will enter, but perhaps more on as monitors or as military police or officers to help local Free Syrian Army affiliated groups to take control of this of the scene, of the situation, and also to control those uncontrollable elements that are from HTS and other groups.
So what is
I think.
What do you think the bigger picture is here for Turkey? Let's say Idlib is liberated from these groups, as you say. Is that just the start? Can we then expect Turkish troops all over Syria knocking out terrorists?
I mean, I think it's the model of Euphrates Shield has been a successful one. And if it is replicated in Idlib, whereby the local populations, local governing councils, and local armed groups that are moderate and can negotiate a political agreement, those are the ones that need to be in charge of the situation with the support and the help from the regional international forces. So that model is a successful model, in my opinion, and it fulfills the objectives, the interests of both Turkey and Syrians on the ground in this region.
In terms of its partners for this particular deal, Russia and Iran, what do you make of this grouping, and what does it tell us about how Turkey's viewing the future of Syria, specifically President Assad?
Well, I think the Astana agreement and the three partners, Iran, Turkey, and Russia, have different objectives, and this is not a strategic alliance in any way, but a very tactical, step-by-step approach on containing the HTS forces at the time being. On the issue of Assad, there is a political process that's undergoing, and I think that he has already lost sovereignty because of the fact that Russia and Iran are speaking on behalf of the regime, and the regime is not on the table. So he has already lost the sovereignty and the control over his own armed forces, and those that are fighting in other areas are mostly either Iranian-affiliated or supported by the air from Russia.
Yes,
I think each one has a different objective. Go ahead.
Yes, but you say that, but by forming this sort of partnership and working closely with Russia and Iran, who, as you say, have very different ways at looking at the Syrian leadership, are they not being complicit in terms of this?
Well, I think there's no absolute way of describing this very delicate balance of power regionally or even domestically. What's at stake here is that there are lives to be saved in Idlib, and the agreement in Astana says that no Iranian or Russian troops will enter those areas, but they will be in charge of the border controls of this de-escalation zone. And that local governing councils by the opposition will control it in the public administration and in preparation for a political track.
Turkey, of course, still very much a member of NATO. How do you think the NATO allies will be looking at this alliance between Turkey and Russia and Iran?
Well, I mean, Turkey really had no other choices in this regard. NATO has deserted them, and the cooperation between the U.S. government and SDF forces has left very minimal maneuvering force for Turkey. And one of the objectives in Idlib is also to block any potential SDF advancement in Afrin. So there are also target areas that are between the Euphrates Shield and Idlib. Those are the postponed areas that Turkey still perceives them as part of their national security interest.